Okay, thanks for coming on then. So yeah, starting with the earliest memory of football you had. Obviously, you grew up in London. Did you always want to be a footballer? Did you have any idols growing up at that age or teams that you followed?
So when my dad's Nigerian, born in Nigeria, I was born in London. So when he came over, he started supporting Liverpool. So he made me support Liverpool. So I always supported Liverpool. And I was just watching the teams from the 90s, like obviously the Johnny Barneses, the Peter Beardsleys, and the Ian Rushes, and like these guys were just unbelievable. Then obviously as I got older in school, being a Liverpool supporter, and then you got your Arsenal supporters and Man United supporters, and then Liverpool didn't win anything when I was yeah. So exactly, they didn't win anything. Obviously the league 30 years and all that kind of stuff just won it last season. So I had no banter in the playground in school. Couldn't even defend Liverpool at those young ages. But playing football, I remember probably 9 years old, I probably started playing, and because like my primary school didn't really have a team, so we actually organised a tournament ourselves, some of the kids and the parents, and we played against some older kids. We got to the quarterfinals of the tournament. I think we was like 8, 9 years old, and we were playing against like 11-year-olds, like 12-year-olds, and yeah, and then we got to like the the quarterfinals. We lost. They were a little bit bigger and better than us at the time. And then from then, I just played all the time after that. And I just trying to improve my game, I was never at an academy when I was in my youth, so I never had that opportunity. So from 9 years old, I was just like locally in London playing, and then I was always like one of the biggest kids. I was always playing centre back. And then I just remember at 14 years old, one of the teachers in my school was like, "You're going to give me a heart attack," because I was used to do tricks in my own area because I was bored of like being a centre back. And then "You're going to give me a heart attack, so I'm going to move you to midfield." So I started playing midfield from about 14 years old. And then when I turned pro, I played another position. I just started playing striker as I turned pro. So but I turned pro at 21. But my whole youth was like kind of full of rejections, full of people telling me I'm not good enough. And I just kind of kept working on my game, kept trying to improve. And then obviously I got the opportunity at 21 years old.
Were there any near misses then? Were there any clubs at a decent level you went on trial with, didn't quite work out for one reason or another? What do you tend to do between 14 and 21? Were you involved in any youth teams? Not academies as such, but was it just local clubs then you were playing like on every week or so?
Yeah, just local club in London. A couple of South Kilburn. So South Kilburn boys, they had like a few players at pro clubs, so like the Fulhams, the West Hams, the Watfords. So we had I grew up with players who were all at these academies. Like QPR was obviously real close to me where I grew up. So they were at these academies. I didn't really have the opportunity. I remember when I was like 11 years old, I went into my first school team and I didn't make that squad. I went into like West London tryouts, didn't make that squad. Went into inner London tryouts, didn't at 14, 15, didn't make that squad either. So it was just like, okay, maybe I'm not good enough here. So there's a picture being painted from all these like places I'm going, but I didn't even get the opportunity to go into pro club academies at all during my youth. So, but again, every kid, they just harbor that ambition as they want to go pro. And I started playing men's football at 17. So a team called like Wolves and Constantine, and they were in the Middlesex County League, so about tier 11. Mm-hmm. So I went university at 18, and for those 3 years I was playing for Wolves and Constantine. But one of the things they actually said to me was that you're actually good enough to be playing at a higher level than this, and that kind of gave me a little boost, gave me a little confidence. The owner, maybe not the owner, one of the guys associated with the team was Ricky Hill, who's like a Luton Town legend at the time, and he was trying to get me in at 18 when he was the manager. So I went into training at 18, and I went to the youth team guy, and I was like, I've applied for university, I can't do both. What should I do? And they were just like, check out your timetable. So I just thought, okay, you guys don't want me, and I just went to university and then just forgot about Luton Town at the time. Continued playing 18 to 21 at Wolves and Constantine. I didn't even go up to semi-pro. So I was just playing it was like, it's freezing cold, you have to put up the nets and all that kind of stuff, bring the nets down, paying £3 subs for the referee. So I was doing that, traveling up and down, just like around London playing. And then 21, So one of the guys I used to play with at Wilson Constantine when I was 17, he became an agent, and he's like, listen, I remember you playing Wilson Constantine. I'm putting a game together with some semi-pro players and myself, and we just went to play against like Luton Town in a pre-season friendly. And I played centre midfield in the game, and I thought I played horrible. I thought I played so bad. I thought, okay, my chance is done. Let me just go work. And it's like I was the only person they asked to come back on trial. So I came back, went into Luton Town. Ricky Hill's now no longer manager now. It's like Mike Newell's the manager.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, has someone told them like from 3 years earlier or something? But no, it's like completely different management team. And after about a couple of weeks, I went to the assistant manager, Brian Steen, was assistant manager, and I was like, listen, I can't afford to keep coming. I'm jumping on train from London to Luton. And I was like, I can't afford to keep coming. He's like, it's your opportunity, take it or leave it. And I was like, damn, it's like that. I was like, it's like that. I see all the other players driving their Mercedes, driving their BMWs, and I'm walking on the train. I was like, okay, you're paying money to people, but you just don't want to pay me nothing. And then after 6 weeks, they started paying my expenses. And I'm like, I signed a non-contract and I'm playing in the first team. I'm on £40 a week expenses. And I'm traveling up and down the country with the first team. And they're like, at that point, they was in financial difficulties. They was in administration at the time. So the FA said they couldn't sign any players. So that was their excuse. And then, so they had a good excuse. They had the FA backing them up. And then, but I'm playing in the first team on a non-contract, £40 a week. Traveling up and
You
down
getting
the
like
country.
an appearance fee and stuff or anything there? Or?
No. So they said they will backdate any goals I scored, bonus in terms of the goals. They said they'll backdate it when and if I signed a full contract. So I'm there, and this is going on for 8 months. Like 8 months, I'm on a £40 a week, and I'm playing in the first team. And then it gets to like I'm there from July, and it gets to like February the next year, and I'm like starting to like I kind of feel like I belong there now. When I made my debut, I got dragged after 40 minutes. I was Plymouth away September. I got dragged after 40 minutes because the referee threatened to send me off. And I was like, first time I played as a striker, and I played up top. And then I'm just like a little bit late in the challenges. Like the game was quick. It was like at that time, I just thought this game's too fast for me. I'm used to obviously having time on the ball, all that kind of stuff. And it was just like, okay, this game may be a little bit too fast for me at the time. Dragged after 40, I thought, okay, my career done before it started. Didn't even get a contract, but I'm finished. And then, but then I just used that. I kind of reframed that, and I used that as an example of it's actually a big win because the manager had faith in me after just 3 months of being there to actually start me in a game. So I thought, okay, let me use that as a something to just work on. And then February, I ended up scoring a hat trick against Brentford in the league game. And then the next that Monday after that weekend, obviously the press is involved. Sky Sports has come to my house to do an interview. I think David Pleat was Tottenham director. He was in the stands watching that game. So I'm hearing noise from everywhere telling me, this team wants to sign you, this team wants to sign you, this team wants to sign you. And I was like, maybe I don't want to sign a contract with Luton anymore. And then, but I ended up signing a contract. They got special dispensation from the FA to sign me on a pro contract, and then I signed my 2.5-year deal then.
So when, in the meantime, you finished uni at this point, you got your degree?
Yeah, I got my degree. The game happened a week after I graduated.
And what was your degree in?
Business admin.
And did you have your eye on a career? Because if you can't survive on £40 a week for forever, like were you thinking, oh, I've got a good job offer there? Were you living like with your parents still, or how was it going?
Yeah, I was living with my parents, and actually turned down a job to go train at Luton Town. So I turned down I think it was about 35-40k a year job to actually go to train. I was like, this is my dream. So it's like I was meant to go to Manchester to do some training with the company, and they were like, and I just didn't turn up. I was like, I'm going to Luton. I'm going to play. It's like whatever happens, this has to be my decision. And so for me, I had to stick it out. I had to stick it out. So they told me not to come
out of uni too as well. That is a very good starting wage at that age back then.
Yeah. So it was. I was like, you know what? I have to ride this to the end, because it's like I turned down a job, but I'm riding this to the end. And I think that was just one of the things. It's just like I'm just gonna keep turning up till this management team tells me not to come anymore. And that's kind of what I did. And then I was able to obviously do well. play, get used to the pace of the game, get used to obviously playing as a striker as well. And then it culminated in me scoring a hat trick. And then after I scored that hat trick, it was like, okay, now I felt okay. Now I've got my contract. Now I can just like keep kicking on.
So when you said, obviously, like you must have felt such an enormous sense of A, relief, and like B, like joy. You've finally got your pro contract. Everything you've done has been worth it. Did you then feel a bit more pressure? Like, I've got to prove. Obviously, you have already proved over a few months, but like now I'm a pro footballer. I've got to start delivering because they're paying my wage rather than me trying to prove to them, sort of thing.
No, to be honest, it's like I just felt like this is my time to kick on. It wasn't so. I think I went through all that. Like I felt that pressure in the beginning. I felt like there was points where there was like lack of self belief. There was lack of confidence. Feeling like I belonged there and stuff like that. Because obviously I came from playing 11th tier to going into League One football, and like then you had obviously all the other players that had seasoned pros, and then you had young boys coming from the youth academy, been there since they were 12, like 8, 9, 10, 12 years old. Then you had boys coming in on loan from like Premier League clubs, like from the Chelseas and the Portsmouths and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, I went through that whole process of like not feeling like I belonged at the beginning when I was on that non-contract. So after I signed my contract, it's like, okay, now I'm here. Now it's just time to kick on. So I didn't really feel that. I didn't really feel pressure. I just felt like, yeah, now my career is actually kicking on now. And that summer, I actually got called up to the Nigerian squad. So I actually played in the Nigerian squad that summer. That point, I was like, okay, what the hell am I doing here?
Yeah, that's a mad turnaround, that, isn't it? Like from non-contract to that in a matter of a few months. Like,
yeah, so that was
still in London, wasn't it? You made your debut in London.
In London, so we played at Charlton's ground, and then we played Ireland and Jamaica. And then I turned up thinking I'm not even going to play because I know the names. There's Okocha, there's the Car News, there's that. Obviously, Martin's made his debut the same day, and I'm like, I know the names. It's like I follow it, and then it's like obviously I come to train. I didn't even bring shin pads, so I was like, I'm not playing. I'm not going to play in these games. It's like you got all these ballers, and obviously Nigeria is like it's a huge country. It's like there's so much talent there. I'm not going to play. I'm just going to, obviously, they just invited me to train and just see who I was or all that kind of stuff. And then it's like, you're on the bench. And then it's like, okay, you're coming on. So I had to just borrow shin pads from one of the other players when I'm coming off the bench. So, but yeah, it was unbelievable experience just to be able to do that. And it's like, just the rise was just insane. Just going from, obviously, tier 11 in England to playing Nigerian international first team. It was insane to me.
How did that first come about then? Obviously, you're playing in Luton. Is it League One at the time? Yeah.
League One, yeah.
Who's obviously, you're born in London, but you've got a Nigerian background. What was the first sort of point of contact like? Who had made the contact from the Nigerian FA, or someone like at Luton said, "Oh, there's a chance here." Like, how does it work there?
Yeah. I don't know. I think there was probably like a few interviews I did where people was like probably asking me, "Oh, if you ever played international football, who would you play for?" And then I was like, "Listen, my dad will kill me if I've ever like decided to play for England." So like, it's always going to be Nigeria. And then I think that went somewhere. I don't know, like how media works, and it went somewhere. And then all of a sudden, I'm getting a call up. I'm getting a call up for the summer to train, and then my agent just called me up and said, "Oh yeah, Nigeria." The national team wants you to. I was like, what are you talking about? This is like, don't be silly. Like, you're pranking me right now. So so I think, and then I ended up just same thing, jumping on train. I still didn't have a car, so jumping on train across London, just with my bag and my boots, and then I just went into, and it was like there was a few players that were playing in England that I was rooming with. So there was like a goalkeeper who was at Brentford at the time, and he was so he was playing for Brentford, and then he became like after like goalkeeping coach, and he did this scene in around the UK. And but yeah, he was the guy I was rooming with, and obviously there was Obafemi Martins came. I see him walking through the door, and then you see Okocha, and you see Olifinjana, who's at Wolves. You see Obeche was at PSG at the time, I think. You see all these players just coming through the door, and you're like, I'm just scratching my head like, what am I doing here? And then obviously Okocha and Hanu didn't play in the games, but they flew to Nigeria and they said, okay, they're going to just go back for the qualifiers. And then I'm thinking, I'm like, shit, am I in contention for the qualifiers? So I'm starting to wonder this now. And then it's like, okay, no, we've got our squad for the qualifiers, but we just wanted to invite you, see how you progress with the team. So yeah, it was a great experience.
And did you have like much chat, like much obviously like training with these names and stuff that you say, like any good experiences? Like, did they like put their arm around you and like guide you and stuff when you first stepped into national football?
Yeah, the overall experience was great. So we trained every day. So it was like probably 4 or 5 days, or maybe even like a week of training, and then obviously the 2 games as well. So we're going out and we're training, we're training, and it's just like the atmosphere is just insane. And obviously, like with just Nigeria as a country, there's like 3 different main languages, but everyone kind of just speaks English, and it's just like it was just the atmosphere and just like the vibe and just being there, and then obviously driving into the stadium, and then you're seeing the fans and the fans just like idolizing you, and then obviously like playing against Ireland was obviously great, and obviously there's still this. The Irish have their own like their banter and their laughter and just enjoying football, just enjoying life really.
Yeah.
So that became good. But playing against Jamaica was just insane, obviously, because like there's a big rivalry between Nigerians and Jamaicans. And obviously just in London as well, there's a huge community of Nigerians in London and a huge community of Jamaicans in London. So that just made the whole atmosphere like a carnival. And it was just like a fun place and a fun experience to be part of.
Then to going back that summer, like to the next season, pre-season and stuff, you're going to Luton now thinking you've got a bit more confidence after playing for Nigeria. You're thinking, I do belong here. Let's kick on this season. It proved to be a pretty good season for Luton, didn't it? Culminating promotion.
Yeah, so that second season, I was like, okay, I'm kicking on. And then you're looking at, so we played Charlton. I think we played Ajax in that pre-season, and then we played Charlton the week before the season starts. And Charlton are in the Premier League. I play up top. I do good. I set up our goal. We draw 1-1. On the Thursday before the season starts, they bring in Rowan Vine on loan from Portsmouth. On the Saturday, he's starting, so I'm pissed. He's a top lad, and we got on when we were there. But I'm pissed. I'm thinking, yeah, this is my season. I'm gonna kick on this season. I've heard rumors of like other clubs that kind of like watching my progress and stuff like this. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna kick on. And then I think it's the first 12, maybe 13 games. We don't lose a game. I think we've won like 10 and drawn 3 of the first like 12 or 13 games, something like that. And we're absolutely flying as a club, as a team. So I couldn't even complain. I couldn't even knock on the door and say, like, why aren't you playing? We were losing games. And so Rowan starts most of the season. But every time I start, I score, like near enough. Come off the bench, score some important goals. And then I remember some of the older players was like, don't worry, like we're gonna get promoted and you're gonna get a big bonus at the end. I was like, I don't care, I want to play. And they're just like, don't worry, just chill, you're coming off. Because I was coming off the bench near enough every single game. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I'm playing left midfield, I'm playing right midfield, I'm playing up top if we need to score a goal. And it's just like, bring on Enoch, he can do something to disrupt the opposition. And so some of the senior pros are just like, don't worry, you're going to get a good bonus because if we win the league and get promoted, you're good. I was like, I don't care, I want to play. So I'm pissed the whole season, just thinking I want to play. And like I said, me and Rowan, like we got on as well as just obviously in the same squad and stuff. But obviously as an individual, as I wanted to play as well. Yeah. And then, but yeah, we ended up getting 98 points that season, so and won the league. And then the bonus came, and I was like, okay, now I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I get it. So in that squad, obviously you mentioned Rowan and Kevin Nichols. I imagine they were pretty big characters. I imagine you've got some interesting stories from them. I was watching a podcast with Rowan Vine on Under the Cosh recently, and he's an interesting character. I think I bet it was quite a fun dressing room, wasn't it?
No, it was great. It was Kevin Nichols is crazy. Like if you heard the story that Rowan told on his podcast, Kevin Nichols is absolutely insane. And like for me, just some of the banter is like way over the top. And I'm like, please do not come to me with this banter because we may be fighting. We may fight.
Yeah.
And obviously, like like footballers are like on that childish thing. You can't fall asleep on the coach when you go into away games and stuff like that. We used to have stuff like I remember one go to one away game and they steal the assistant managers like trainers, and like so he's walking around the whole hotel like just with his socks and that. We go into the game and they must have tied it to the top of the coach. So we just on the way to the game and you all hear is like boom 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 hitting and the coach is like, what the hell is that? The assistant managers like trainers are up there like so yeah just and it's like people they used to do the whole thing where it's just like get your room key and trash your rooms and stuff like that. And it's just like, you guys are just insane. So all the away games when we were playing at Luton Town, it was just like, you have to make sure you got your room key, make sure like you're in your room after dinner before anyone else, no hanging around because someone's gonna try to get your key and trash your room, stuff like that. Beds all over the place, like it's crazy. They used to do some crazy stuff. So yeah, you always have to be aware and on your toes, like in away games. That's probably why we did so good because everyone like couldn't relax.
Yeah,
I mean, there's no relaxing. There's no relaxing in that like on away trips especially.
I was going to say it's all well and good in a promotion campaign, but if you were struggling at the bottom end of the table, I doubt that would have been received as well. Wouldn't you be like, "Oh, come on, lads"?
No, yeah, exactly. It's like it just probably wouldn't fly. It's like everyone's just pissed already because you're down at the bottom of the league and you're struggling, and everyone's obviously thinking about, yeah, if we get relegated, my money's getting chopped in half. So it's like there's none of that banter will kind of fly. When you're not at the top of the table.
For those who don't know, that's that Rowan Vine story with Kevin Nichols. Have you got your own memories of it? The one that stands out?
Yeah, he did. He did that. He did that often, not once, often. often. And it's like I said, don't come to me with that because we will be fighting. That's not banter to me. So yeah, he used to run around the change room with a log in his hand and just like putting it in people's faces. I just had to give him a look. That it's like, okay, let me go to someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was captain, wasn't he? Wasn't he club captain?
He was captain. He was one of those. He was one of those guys that's kind of led by example on the field. Worked his socks off. Great player. Great technique and stuff. But yeah, off the field, he's just insane. I remember them doing some like for me, it's not even banter, but like they would take people's cars and put it somewhere, and then they put fish under people's cars so it stinks of fish, and they can't find out where the smell's coming from. All that kind of stuff. So it's just like, for me, it's just like, it's not funny. That's not funny to me. So don't bring that way because like I'm not gonna get you back. We may have to fight.
So I take it they stayed away from you then. You were never on the receiving end of anything, no?
Oh, a couple of times, yeah, they trashed my room and stuff like that still. But yeah, it was none of the stuff that was too much over the top. Yeah. So it was hard. Yeah.
So you got promotion. So moving up to the Championship, obviously a big step, but Luton handled it pretty well, didn't they? Like it was a good first season. Like I think you took people by surprise a little bit. It's like you said, it was a settled squad. How did you feel? Did you feel like there was much of a jump in quality? Like how did you adapt it yourself?
Yeah, there was. I think there was, and there's like I know obviously we had like Stephen Howard up top, and Stephen Howard was obviously the manager's favourite. I think they brought in a couple of other guys on loan in the Championship, and I'm playing in the Resis, and I think there's a point when I think me and Rowan were playing in the Resis together, and I think that season in the Champ, I think I scored 17 goals in 11 Resi games. And like, this is my contract coming. This is my last year, my contract. And then I remember the gaffer coming to me. You're coming to me and saying, "You've done good in the Resi. You showed you deserve a chance." And we're about to play Wolves away. And he's like, "Okay, I'm going to bring you in a team." And then he brings me back in centre midfield. And he's like, and we're playing against Paul Ince and Tom Huddleston. He's like, "Don't worry, Paul Ince, he's 38. He's got no legs."
Yeah.
It's like, and then it's like, but me and him was just up and down the whole game. I was like, "Oh, you told me he's the guy that had no legs." He was super fit. And so I ended up playing, I think, 1,000 games or so playing centre midfield in the Championship. We had a few injuries and stuff like that, and I kind of filled in centre midfield, like going back to my youth, playing centre mid. But at this point, I'm like, I'm a striker now. Like, I want to play striker. And then he's like, he just threw this little this left field thing for me. He's like, "Okay, you're gonna go in centre midfield." I was like, "Okay," but I'm playing, so I didn't mind because I was like, "Okay, I'm playing. I'm on the pitch." So, but I think there's like 12 games I played centre midfield in the Championship that season, and then we I think we ended up like 9th or 10th in the league. So yeah, it was a solid performance. And then they offered me a new contract, but I just felt like I needed to go somewhere else to play and just keep progressing my career and stuff.
Did you feel like you could move on to bigger and better things? And like, no disrespect to Luton, but did you think there's potential I could definitely nail down a starting place in the Championship or a bigger club with bigger aspirations, sort of thing?
it wasn't so much the big aspirations or anything. I just felt like I wanted to play, and like I wasn't really fussed about like the size of the club or stuff like that. I just wanted to literally like give me a year and let me play and let me see. Even for myself, it's like let me see what I can do
Yeah.
as a player playing pro and see where that takes me. So I think that was kind of more my mindset coming out of and leaving Luton. And so it's like I just wanted to say, okay, listen, I want to go somewhere where I have a fair crack at the whip, because I don't even feel like at Luton I had that fair crack. Where obviously the year we went up, we did great. Obviously 98 points, you can't really complain. And then even in the championship, like moving me back to centre mid, and now I was like, okay, the last 3 years I've been learning. And I feel like I even learned this on my own, just learning. I have 3 strikers probably at Luton who were ex strikers, like legends of Luton Town, played the highest level as strikers, but not really one of them kind of put me to the side and said, you need to do this as a striker. I just like watch, learn, observe, and then let me incorporate certain things in my game and certain things in training. So I just felt like for myself, I just need to go somewhere where I can have that fair crack, where it's just like a level playing field, no favourites. If I'm performing in training, performing in reserve games, whatever, I'm going to start games on the weekend. So that's kind of the reason why I left.
So then Bristol City, was that the first offer you had, the best offer, or was it a case of like, was there a few offers on the table, or?
There was a couple offers, but I think like I met the manager at Bristol, and I just felt like that was a good move for me. From the things he said in that meeting, I just felt okay. I think this is going to be a good move. And obviously it went down to League One, so it's just like, okay, let me play, let me see how this goes. So it's like kind of I stayed at my mum's for the first 3 years I played pro. I didn't move anywhere in London. I didn't even get a car, because it's like London. It's like you don't need a car in London. I'm not even getting a car. And so moving to Bristol, like got my car, obviously moved out my mum's, and then it's just like and then I bought a house. So it's like everything was just like, okay, now I'm a man, now I'm my own man, now I'm doing my thing. Let me concentrate on football. Let me do my thing.
So Bristol City, obviously they're a big club for that level though. So straight away you're thinking we need to get promoted. Like, that was the aim. So you got off to a good start, didn't you? Were you brought in and was it Gary Johnson the manager?
Gary Johnson's the manager, yeah.
Did he bring you in saying you're going to be first choice, like you're my main striker sort of thing, or?
Not really. He kind of said like, listen, it's down to you. You do what you need to do to become the number one. You have traits that we like as a player. So obviously, if you're performing, you're going to play basically. And I said, okay, that's fair. That's fair to me. It's like I don't want preferential treatment for any reason. It's just like, okay, if you're working hard, you're doing the right things, and you're performing, then you should play regardless. And I just felt that was fair to me. So I came in, I think the first game of the season, I was on the bench at Bristol. But I came off the bench and I scored on my debut, and we won 1-0. And then for every time I was fit that season, I played. So I think I scored 15 goals in all competitions that season. I won a Player of the Month award in January or February, I can't remember the month. And then I had 12 assists that year as well. And then we got promoted on the last game of the season. So it was like, and I think Luton went down that year as well. So I was like, okay, I felt like I was justified in my decision. So yeah, that first year was a great year at Bristol.
Another nice bonus as well when you got a promotion. You're expecting
another nice bonus, yeah.
Keep on nipping down to League One for that bonus. That'll do well. So then next season, was it a similar sort of scenario? You've gone back up to the Championship, but then it just meant more competition. Obviously, they invested a bit more in the strikers, didn't they? And you sort of similar scenario to what you went through at Luton.
Yeah, but I think I started that season. I think pre-season I was doing really good, and I think I started that season. We started well. We started well as well, and then I think there was like injuries, and then obviously I think they spent $1 million on Lee Trundle. I think Darren Byfield came in, and then there was like kind of me in and out of the team. But I think I got injured a bit. I came back. I think December time. Came in, scored against Watford. Darren Byfield comes on for me, and he scored the winner 2-1. And then I think, but we're doing great. We're like in and around the playoffs area. And then I think obviously we get to January, and I think I start a game against Crystal Palace away, and we lose 2-0. So I start the game, we lose 2-0. This is like January time. On the Wednesday after, I get a call from the club, not the manager. I get a call from like the secretary of the club saying, "You're not part of the plans anymore. You should go." And I'm like, I started on Saturday. What do you mean? Like, I wasn't in the stands. I wasn't on the bench. I actually started the game on Saturday. I was like, what do you mean I'm not part of the plans anymore? They're like, yeah, they were like, Leeds are putting a bid for you, and you should go. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. So I go in the next day, and the gaffer goes to me, you going up north? And I'm like, no, I'm gonna stay and fight for my place. He's like, you're mad. So in my head, like I just want to stay in the championship. But I want to like obviously see how I go, how I can perform in the championship.
Leeds are in League One at this stage, yeah.
Leeds are in League One, exactly. Leeds are in League One. So at this point, it's like, it's my second opportunity in the championship. I started to play a few games. Like I think I scored 3 goals from December to January time. And then it was like, I just want to test myself in the championship. And I was like settled in Bristol, all that kind of stuff. But then I get this call, and I was like, okay, this is strange. No falling out with the manager or nothing. It's just like
all of a sudden come from the club rather than him. That's a bit like not even the chairman or anything, just like a secretary type person.
Yeah, called me on my day off on the Wednesday. So it's like I played on the Saturday, and the Wednesday I get a call, and obviously Leeds must have put in a bid, and they just must have like agreed or whatever.
Yeah.
And so all the players were like, some of the players are from up north, and they were like, if I had this opportunity, I'll bite my hand off for that opportunity. Obviously, Leeds is a huge club, blah blah blah. And I was like, you know what, I want to just stay in the championship right now. This is kind of what I want. So and Dennis Wise is the manager. Dennis Wise calls me on his phone. He calls me and he says, like, I want you to do this, and that. Come up to Leeds. I said, Dennis, listen, I want to stay in the championship for now. Thank you for the offer, but I'm not really interested at this point in my career. Especially being in January. 2 days later, Dennis Wise leaves to go to Newcastle as technical director. 2 days after calling me, and I was like, "But you must have known you're
must
going."
Have had an idea, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like you want me to come to Leeds, and then and you're the manager, and then like all of a sudden there's a new manager gonna come in and all that kind of stuff. So all the other players were like, "Dad, you must be blessed because like you must have made a good decision because Dennis Wise obviously leaves." I end up going Sheffield Wednesday on loan, and Sheffield Wednesday is obviously in the championship. So I just said to Gary Johnson, listen, I'm not going to go anywhere unless it's a championship club. Sheffield Wednesday coming on loan, and he was trying to push me through the door because obviously I think he's trying to bring in another player or whatever. So tried to push me through the door, tells me I never play for Bristol City again. So I end up going Sheffield Wednesday on loan. The second game is against Bristol City for Sheffield Wednesday, so I can't play. So Dennis Law, forgot his name now. Brian Law, the manager. He says to me, you can play in the resis, or you can like just take the week off and come in on Monday. And then I said, you know what, I'll play resis. I'll keep ticking over. I started their first game. I think we drew 0-0. I think I got MOM as well in that game, but I didn't score. I said, you know what, I'm gonna play in the resis because like I'm just gonna keep ticking over. The resi games against Leeds, new management in place. I scored 2 goals in that resi game for Sheffield Wednesday against Leeds. I think it's a 2-2 draw or whatever. So that summer, Leeds still came in for me because they were like, if nobody cares about him and he plays like that in a reserve game, what about if someone cared about him? And that's why I signed for Leeds that summer. But the gaffer at Bristol was like, you'll never play for Bristol City again. I played about 10 games, I think 5 games starting, 5 games off the bench for Sheffield Wednesday, but I didn't score. And then, for the last month of the season, I'm like, you know what, I'm going back to Bristol. My contract's like running out. Go back to Bristol, see what happens at the end of the season. So I come back, I play 2 resi games, and I score 5 goals in 2 resi games. The assistant manager comes to me, he's like, "Oh, we're thinking of putting you back in the squad for the last 2 games of the season." I was like, "Okay, but like you said, I was never going to play for Bristol City again, but whatever. Like, whatever. I'm a professional. I just go play. If you tell me to play, I'll play." So I come in the last 2 games of the season off the bench, start. Now we get to the playoffs, and then I get bombed for the playoff squad. And the final to go up, obviously to the final at Wembley where we played against Hull City. and lost, and Windass scored that goal. So obviously, but I was like, I wasn't even like, so there was a group of players who was part of the 20-man squad that traveled with the whole squad for the Wembley, and there was a group of players who were like, I had to literally just get tickets to go to Wembley and sit in the stands. I was still part of that 20. Like I was just in my suit, but behind the bench. So I was like, so even that point, it was like he still kind of included me and not pie me off, like in terms of putting me on the side of all the other players. But yeah, it's just strange. It's just strange. But I ended up signing for Leeds that summer, literally because of that reserve game.
So going back to Gary Johnson, when he said you're never going to play for this club again, was it like a bit of a falling out? Was it said with like it almost like disliking you, or was it just facts like you're not in my plan for the rest of the season, you're not going to play? Like, was it a bit of a weird conversation with him? Or?
No, it was like from my point, there was no falling out. Like we never had a falling out. Maybe he didn't appreciate me as a player no more. Maybe it was like you're not doing enough, you're not good enough, whatever. Okay, that's fair enough. Like cool. But like I said, the process of how it happened was just strange because it was like I played on a Saturday. And maybe I played crap. Maybe I played so bad in that game. It's like we need to get rid of this kid. Cool, but I'm cool with that. Cool with that. That's fine. It's like there's going to be someone else. But like he didn't even have the balls to call me up and say to me, "You're not part of my plans." He got the secretary to do it. So I was just all confused. I was like, "This is crazy." And when I went into training the next day, and I spoke to him, and I'm on the training field, and he's like, "Are you going up north?" And I was like, "No, I want to stay and fight for my place." And he's like, "You're mad." And then he was like, "Go train with the youth team." I was like, and then I laughed because I thought that's just childish. That's stupid for me. But whatever. And then he was like, and then from what I heard through the industry, he was like telling people, "Oh, he's not good enough for the championship." I was like, but let other people decide that. Now, why do you have to like? And he's like, because again, of course, with the managers, like they don't want to lose a player or say to a player not part of the plans. He goes to another club in the championship and starts doing really well, and then everyone's going to be on his back saying, "Why did you let him go?" kind of thing. But I ended up signing for Sheffield Wednesday, but on loan. But I didn't score, and then so I signed for Leeds. I signed for Leeds that summer.